This week in American history takes us from the early work of building a republic to the hard lessons of leadership, honor, and sacrifice. From the dollar and the Declaration to the early Navy, the frontier, and the Medal of Honor, these moments remind us that liberty is never preserved by accident. It is built through order, discipline, courage, civic duty, and citizens who understand both their rights and their responsibilities. Monday, July 6th. Congress establishes the dollar, 1785. On July 6, 1785, the Continental Congress adopted the dollar as the money unit of the United States. The new nation had won independence, but independence alone did not create stability. Trade, debt, taxes, and commerce all required a more reliable system of money. Creating a national money unit was part of the difficult work of turning a revolution into a functioning republic. The dollar reminds us that liberty requires more than bold words. It requires order, trust, responsibility, and institutions strong enough to serve a free people. Tuesday, July 7th. The Quasi-War with France, 1798. In the late 1790s, American merchant ships faced attacks and seizures from French privateers. The conflict grew from disputes over neutral trade, diplomacy, and America's place in a world still shaped by European war. On July 7, 1798, Congress declared that earlier treaties with France were no longer binding, deepening the limited naval conflict known as the Quasi-War. Though it was never a formally declared war, the Quasi-War tested the young Navy and America's ability to defend its commerce. The Quasi-War reminds us that independence must be defended not only at home, but wherever American lives, trade, and sovereignty are threatened. Wednesday, July 8th. The Declaration is read to the people, 1776. On July 8, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was publicly read in Philadelphia. For many Americans, this was the moment the words of independence moved from Congress into the public square. The Declaration was not just a message to King George. It was a message to the people that a new political future had begun. Printed copies helped carry the Declaration beyond Philadelphia and into towns, taverns, churches, military camps, and homes. July 8th reminds us that liberty has to be communicated, understood, and carried by the people who are expected to defend it. Thursday, July 9th. Washington has the Declaration read to the Army, 1776. On July 9, 1776, George Washington ordered the Declaration of Independence to be read to the Continental Army in New York. Washington understood that the Army needed to know what it was fighting for. The words gave the war a clearer purpose. The struggle was no longer only about protest or grievance. It was about independence. For the men standing in those ranks, independence was not an abstract idea. It meant hardship, danger, and a long, uncertain fight ahead. July 9th reminds us that free people must know the cause they serve. Rights require understanding, discipline, and the willingness to stand when history demands it. Friday, July 10th. Wyoming becomes the 44th state, 1890. On July 10, 1890, President Benjamin Harrison signed the Wyoming statehood bill into law. With that signature, Wyoming became the 44th state admitted to the Union. Its admission reflected the continued expansion of the American Republic and the responsibilities that came with self-government. Wyoming also held a unique place in civic history because it had recognized women's suffrage before becoming a state. Wyoming's statehood reminds us that America's story was shaped not only in eastern halls of government, but also on the frontier, where citizens built communities, laws, and a future. Saturday, July 11th. The Burr-Hamilton duel, 1804. On July 11, 1804, Alexander Hamilton and Vice President Aaron Burr met at Weehawken, New Jersey for one of the most infamous duels in American history. The duel followed years of political rivalry, personal insult, and a culture that placed public honor above restraint. Dueling was illegal in both New York and New Jersey, yet the code of honor still held power over many public men of that era. Hamilton was mortally wounded and died the next day. Burr survived the duel, but his reputation never recovered. The Burr-Hamilton duel reminds us that character matters. A republic needs leaders guided not by pride, but by judgment, discipline, and responsibility. Sunday, July 12th. Lincoln authorizes the Army Medal of Honor, 1862. On July 12, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed legislation authorizing the Army Medal of Honor. The medal was created to recognize soldiers who distinguished themselves through gallantry in action during the Civil War. At a time when the nation was divided by war, the medal represented honor, courage, and sacrifice in the face of extreme danger. It was not meant to celebrate war itself. It was meant to recognize those who went beyond ordinary duty when others depended on them. The Medal of Honor reminds us that service is measured not only by rank or title, but by courage, sacrifice, and the willingness to act when duty calls. From the dollar to the Declaration, from the early Navy to the Medal of Honor, this week shows how American history is shaped by choices. Some choices build institutions. Some defend sovereignty. Some reveal character. Some honor sacrifice. Liberty is never preserved by accident. It is preserved by informed, responsible citizens who understand both their rights and their duties. Double H Customs. Rights, responsibility, quality.